Fire is never quiet. It snaps and crackles. It bellows. It devours oxygen with a hollow roar, like wind screaming through a tunnel. But the moment the Molotov cocktails slammed into Bumpy Johnson's car, when flames swallowed the interior, when his jacket ignited, when he kicked through the windshield and hit the pavement, 127th Street fell into total silence. No horns, no shouting, no footsteps, no screams. Only fire, chewing through metal and leather. Bumpy struck the ground rolling, grinding himself against the cold pavement, trying to smother the flames eating through his jacket. For 3 seconds he rolled. Then he tore the burning coat from his body and hurled it aside. Steam lifted from his hands. Blisters bloomed instantly across his palms. Second-degree burns climbed his right arm and spread across his back. He should have been screaming, should have been running, should have been dying. Instead, Bumpy Johnson stood up. From darkened windows and frozen sidewalks, people watched, and the street grew even quieter, because what they were seeing made no sense. This is the story of February 15, 1934, the night Bumpy Johnson became untouchable. To understand what happened, you have to understand Harlem in 1934. The Great Depression had crushed Black America harder than anywhere else. Unemployment hovered near 50%. Evictions came weekly. Children went hungry. The legal economy had collapsed. But one business thrived: the numbers racket.
Dutch Schultz was the problem. His real name was Arthur Flagenheimer, a German-Jewish mobster out of the Bronx, a bootlegger who'd made millions during Prohibition. When Prohibition ended in December 1933, Dutch didn't slow down. He pivoted. He needed a new river of money. So he looked south. He saw Harlem. He saw cash moving hand to hand through black neighborhoods, and he decided it belonged to him. Dutch's approach was blunt and effective: fear. He sent white enforcers into Harlem to terrorize black policy bankers. They smashed storefronts, beat collectors, threatened families. Take Dutch's deal or lose everything. Most folded. Casper Holstein, one of Harlem's biggest operators, had been kidnapped back in 1928 and never fully recovered. Others chose survival over pride. But Stephanie St. Clair refused. She'd built her empire from nothing. She'd fought rivals, bribed cops, outmaneuvered gangsters for over a decade. She wasn't handing it over to a Bronx mobster just because he made threats. So Dutch escalated. He sent his man into Harlem with one instruction: destroy St. Clair's operation by any means necessary. Madame St. Clair answered by unleashing Bumpy Johnson. For 6 months, Harlem became a quiet war zone. Dutch's collectors showed up demanding protection money. Bumpy showed up, and they went back to the Bronx in ambulances. Dutch's men tried to scare runners. Those men disappeared. Bumpy was winning. Dutch was losing patience. In early February 1934, 3 of Dutch's collectors vanished. They'd gone into Harlem to collect taxes from policy banks. They never came back. No bodies, no witnesses. That was the message. Dutch knew who did it. Everyone did. Bumpy Johnson. Dutch called a meeting. Around the table sat his hardest men: Mickey Sullivan, Paulie Romano, Tony Benz, veterans, killers, professionals. "I want Bumpy Johnson dead," Dutch said. "Not arrested, not beaten, dead." He leaned forward. "Make it hurt. Make it public. I want Harlem to understand what happens when someone crosses me." Mickey Sullivan volunteered immediately. Bumpy had broken his brother's jaw outside a speakeasy on 125th Street months earlier. He'd been waiting for payback. Paulie Romano was the fire expert. His nickname, Paulie the Torch, was earned. He'd burned buildings, witnesses, entire operations. He knew how to make death look accidental. Tony Benz was insurance. If somehow Bumpy survived the first strike, Tony would finish it. They had a week. A week to study Bumpy's habits, a week to learn his roots, a week to pick the moment. They found it. February 15th, 1934. A Thursday night, cold, mid-30s, streets mostly empty, people staying indoors. That evening, Bumpy was at Madame St. Clair's brownstone on 145th Street. They sat talking strategy, money, manpower, which cops could be bought and which couldn't. "This war's draining me," St. Clair said. "Dutch keeps hitting my runners. We can't do this forever." Bumpy leaned back, calm. "We don't have to. Just long enough for him to understand Harlem costs more than it pays." "And if he doesn't?" St. Clair asked. Bumpy didn't blink. "Then we kill him." St. Clair smiled. That was why she trusted him. No bluster, no empty threats. They talked until 11:28 p.m. When Bumpy stood to leave, St. Clair walked him to the door. "Be careful," St. Clair said. "Desperate men do stupid things." Bumpy nodded. "I'm always careful." He stepped into the cold and climbed into his Buick, a 1932 sedan St. Clair had bought for him. Fast, reliable, built to run if it had to. He pulled away, heading south on Lenox Avenue toward his place on 127th Street. He didn't notice the 2 cars parked 3 blocks down. Didn't notice them pull out and fall in behind him. Mickey and Paulie in the lead, Tony Benz trailing 1 block back. The trap was set. 11:31 p.m. Bumpy passed 135th Street, driving steady. Speed limit, radio off, windows cracked just enough to let the cold in. He liked the air sharp. It kept his head clear. 11:33 p.m. He neared 127th and Lenox. Home was 2 blocks east, 3 minutes, maybe less. That's when a black Ford sedan rolled out from a side street and slid directly in front of him. It didn't stop. It slowed, down to a crawl, 10 miles an hour, just enough to block him. Bumpy's first thought was a drunk, late night, bootleg liquor, someone who shouldn't be behind a wheel. He tapped the horn. Nothing. The Ford kept creeping forward. Something tightened in his gut. He checked the rear-view mirror. Another car, 20 yards back, close enough to trap him. This wasn't an accident. This was a box. His right hand moved toward the .45 under the seat, but before his fingers reached it, the Ford's passenger window slid down. Paulie Romano leaned out, 2 bottles in his hands, glass, rags stuffed in the necks, both wicks burning. Molotovs. Bumpy had maybe 2 seconds. Gun? No time. Reverse? Blocked. Ram the Ford? Maybe, but the bottles would still fly. No good choices. He tightened his grip on the wheel and braced to hit the Ford head-on, hoping Paulie might drop the bottles inside his own car. Too late. 11:34:03 p.m. The first bottle flew. It arced clean through the night and shattered across Bumpy's hood. Glass exploded. Gasoline sprayed. Fire bloomed instantly, orange and violent, racing across the metal in seconds. Heat slammed into the windshield like a punch. 11:34:05 p.m. The second bottle came through Bumpy's open side window, the window he'd cracked for air. It struck the back of the passenger seat and burst. Gasoline splashed everywhere, dashboard, steering wheel, his right arm. For one frozen moment, Bumpy stared at his sleeve, dark, soaked, shining. Then it caught. 11:34:07 p.m. Fire raced up his arm and across his shoulder. Pain hit like a blade, white-hot, immediate. Skin blistered beneath the fabric. Most men would have panicked. Bumpy didn't. Training took over, the kind learned in alley fights, prison riots, and years of surviving people who wanted him dead. First rule, get out. Smoke filled the car. Flames climbed fast. 10 seconds more and the interior would be gone. He reached for the door handle with his left hand. It was molten. The instant his palm touched it, skin blistered. He yanked his hand back with a curse. 11:34:10 p.m. The passenger seat was fully engulfed. Flames crawled toward the driver's seat. Heat pushed past 800 degrees. Smoke burned his lungs. He couldn't see. He couldn't breathe. His jacket was still on fire. Decision made. The windshield. Heat had already spiderwebbed it. Bumpy planted his feet against the seatback and kicked. Once, crack. Twice, still held. Third kick, the glass shattered. 11:34:12 p.m. The windshield collapsed outward. Glass rained down over the hood, into the flames. Bumpy grabbed the steering wheel, hauled himself forward, and climbed through the opening. His jacket burned, his hair singed, pain screamed through his right arm. He rolled over the hood, over fire, and slammed onto the pavement. Cold concrete. He needed cold. His shoulder hit first, then his hip. Air blasted from his lungs. He rolled, once, twice, grinding the flames into the street. Gasoline fought back. 3 rolls, 4. 11:34:18 p.m. The fire weakened. The jacket was still smoldering. His arm felt like it was submerged in boiling water. Through smoke and chaos, Bumpy looked up. He saw Mickey Sullivan in the Ford, hands shaking, fumbling with the keys. He saw Paulie Romano scrambling out, running. And 1 block back, he saw Tony Benz's car, waiting, watching. Something locked into place inside Bumpy's mind. Cold, focused. They thought he was finished. They were wrong.
11:34:22 p.m. Bumpy Johnson stood. His legs trembled, but they held. His right arm screamed, but it still worked. He seized his burning jacket, still hot enough to sting, and tore it off, flinging it into the street. Beneath it, his shirt was charred, skin blistered from shoulder to wrist. More burn scorched his back where gasoline had soaked through. Steam rose from his body in the frozen air. He looked at his hands. His left palm was burned raw from the door handle, his right hand blistered from the pavement, hands that shouldn't have been able to close. He made fists anyway. Pain shot up his arms. He ignored it. Then he ran, not away, from them. From the windows, people froze. They'd watched a man crawl out of a burning car. They expected him to collapse. Instead, he stood, stripped off fire, and charged forward. Mrs. Dorothy Williams grabbed her husband's arm from their third-floor window. "Samuel, that's Bumpy. He's alive. God help those men." A 12-year-old boy, Malcolm, pressed his face to the glass. Years later, he'd tell his children about the night he saw a man on fire refuse to die. A retired porter on the fourth floor reached for the phone. His wife stopped him. "We didn't see nothin'," she said. "You understand?" He understood. 11:34:28. It took Bumpy 10 seconds to reach the ford, 10 seconds of burned feet pounding pavement, 10 seconds of smoke tearing at his lungs, 10 seconds of pain that would have dropped most men. Mickey finally got the key into the ignition. The engine coughed. Bumpy yanked the driver's door open with a metallic scream that echoed down 127th Street. Mickey screamed. Not bravado, not toughness, pure fear. Bumpy grabbed him by the collar and dragged him out of the car like dead weight. Mickey hit the pavement and tried to scramble. He didn't get the chance. The street went silent again, that same impossible quiet, like sound itself refused to exist around Bumpy Johnson. 11:34:35. Bumpy's hands closed around Mickey Sullivan's throat. Mickey fought, punched, kicked, clawed, but burned hands are still hands, and Bumpy's grip was iron. Mickey's face flushed red, then purple. His legs kicked uselessly. Bumpy's face showed nothing, no rage, no triumph, just focus. 45 seconds, that's how long it took. When Mickey stopped moving, Bumpy released him. The body collapsed onto the pavement and stayed there. Above them, curtains twitched, faces disappeared. One man reached for a phone. "Don't," his neighbor whispered. "We didn't see anything." The phone went back on the hook. Paulie Romano already had a head start. He ran east toward 8th Avenue, then north. Former boxer, fast, desperate. But Bumpy followed. Bumpy sat on the curb beside Paulie Romano's body, breathing shallow, every nerve screaming. His skin was raw and blistered. His arm throbbed like it had its own heartbeat. He should have been in a hospital. Instead, at 11:36 p.m. on February 15th, 1934, Bumpy Johnson sat in the cold Harlem night, 2 men dead behind him, a burned-out Buick 3 blocks south, and he smiled. Not because he'd won, because the message had been delivered. You could burn Bumpy Johnson, but you couldn't stop him. He didn't go to a hospital. Hospitals kept records. Records led to questions. Questions led to cops. And in 1934 Harlem, cops led straight back to Dutch Schultz. Instead, Bumpy limped 16 blocks north to 142nd Street. Dr. Samuel Hayes, Madame St. Clair's personal physician, opened the door at 11:52 p.m., took one look at Bumpy, and whispered, "Jesus Christ." He pulled him inside and cut away what remained of his shirt. The burns were severe, right arm worst, back nearly as bad, left hand burned but manageable. "You need a hospital," Hayes said. "No," Bumpy replied quietly. "Dutch has eyes there." Hayes studied him, then nodded. For 3 hours he cleaned the wounds, applied salve, wrapped burns in fresh gauze. He offered morphine. Bumpy refused at first, said he needed to stay alert. "You need sleep," Hayes said. "I'll watch your back." Bumpy agreed. 3 days, minimum. February 16th, 8:15 a.m. Detective Robert Walsh stood on 127th Street staring at the blackened skeleton of Bumpy Johnson's Buick. Tires melted, frame warped, glass gone. 2 blocks north lay Mickey Sullivan. 3 blocks north, Paulie Romano. Walsh knew what had happened.
So did everyone else. Witnesses? His partner asked. Walsh laughed, bitter. 12 apartments overlooking the street. All 12 say they were asleep, saw nothing, heard nothing. So what do we write? Walsh looked at Harlem, at the people passing by, eyes forward, mouths shut. Drunken fight, 3 out-of-towners, 1 sets a car on fire, things get out of hand. They filed it that way. Nobody corrected them. February 20th. Bumpy Johnson walked back onto the streets of Harlem. Bandages wrapped his arm and hand, burns pulled tight across his back. Every step hurt. People saw him. Word spread instantly. Bumpy's alive. By noon, Harlem knew Dutch Schultz had tried to burn him and failed. The story grew with every retelling. Some said Bumpy fought while fully aflame. Others said fire bent around him. The truth was enough. February 21st. Dutch Schultz sat in his Bronx office, smoke hanging thick in the air. Tony Benz stood nearby, shoulder bandaged, face pale. Tony told the room what he'd seen. Silence followed. "How much are we making in Harlem?" the accountant said. 15 grand net, and this week cost us 8,000. Dutch did the math. Then he stood. "We're done," he said. "Pull everyone out. Harlem belongs to Bumpy Johnson." It wasn't surrender, it was business. Bumpy carried the scars forever, shiny skin on his arm, twisted flesh on his back, burned palms. He wore them like armor, because everyone knew what they meant. February 15th, 1934. The night fire failed. The night Harlem went silent. The night Bumpy Johnson became untouchable.